So before we bring the jury in, let me just say the following. First, I don't know what the verdict is. Secondly, for those who have been diligently coming to these proceedings on a daily basis throughout this trial, first I want to thank you for the way you have attended the trial and the dignity that you have shown this process. It's clear to the court that this jury has worked very, very hard and has been very diligent in undertaking an extraordinarily difficult case. And so what I would ask on behalf of all of us is that we accept their verdict with dignity and with peace so that we can excuse them for the room, and then we can decide where we're going to go from here. Thank you. Okay, so can we bring the jury in? We're going to have the jury of 12 in the box, and I did want to allow the alternates to sit in just so they would be part of the process. Okay, please be seated. So, Mr. Burnett, I did receive your note that the jury has reached a verdict.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you a couple of questions. First, was the jury able to reach a verdict on all 7 counts?
Yes.
And was the verdict unanimous on all 7 counts?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Bourgoin, if you would stand and face your jury. Mr. Burnett, to the charge in docket 38141016, count 1, with respect to the second-degree murder involving Mary Harris, how did the jury find?
We found him guilty.
Of second-degree murder?
Second-degree murder.
And that was unanimous?
It was.
And let me ask you a follow-up question. With respect to the affirmative defense of insanity, did the jury conclude that the defendant had failed to meet his burden of proof with respect to insanity?
Could we repeat that, please?
Sure. With respect to the affirmative defense of insanity, did the jury decide that the defendant did not meet his burden of proof with regard to insanity? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you have to keep your voice up apparently, and we'll... Obviously, the recording of the verdict is important. So let me, to make sure we got the question right again. With respect to the affirmative defense of insanity, did the jury conclude that the defendant had failed to meet his burden of proof with regard to insanity?
Yes.
And was that decision unanimous?
Yes.
So say you all?
Yes.
With regard to count 2, the charge involving the second-degree murder of Cyrus Shao, how did the jury find?
We found it charged guilty of second-degree murder.
Was that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
With regard to count 3, the second-degree murder involving Liam Hale. How did the jury find?
Found Mr. Bourgoin guilty of second-degree murder.
And was that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
With regard to count 4, the second-degree murder involving Janie Kazi, how did the jury find?
Found Mr. Bourgoin guilty of second-degree murder.
And was that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
With regard to count 5, the second-degree murder of Eli Brookins, how did the jury find?
Found Mr. Bourgoin guilty of second-degree murder.
And was that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
In docket 37981016, with regard to count 1, the gross negligent operation of a motor vehicle, how did you find?
We found Mr. Bourgoin guilty of grossly negligent operation of a vehicle.
And was that verdict unanimous?
Yes, it was.
And with regard to count 2, the aggravated operation of a vehicle without the owner's consent, how did the jury find?
We found Steve Bourgoin guilty.
And was that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
Okay. Do the attorneys wish any other polling of the jury?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So, members of the jury, both for the 12 of you plus the alternates, I want to thank you for the time and the effort and the amazing dedication that you have put towards this case, the patience you have shown us when we've had down times, and your really dedication to the task at hand. I'll need to do some additional work here in the courtroom, but at this point, we would excuse you, but I'd ask if you can indulge me a little bit longer and reassemble in the jury room, and I'll be back there shortly. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, please be seated. Okay, so, Mr. Adams, I assume you'll want some time to consider post-verdict motions?
Please, Judge.
Okay, and what's a reasonable time?
I request 30 days, Judge, if that's
State have any objections for the defense having 30 days for a post-verdict motion?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So the deadline for post-verdict motions why do we say June 21st?
fine, Judge.
The state with 14 days to respond?
That's
If
fine.
you need more time, let us know that. Mr. Bourgoin obviously will continue to be held without bail at this point. I think it probably would make sense to set in motion the proceedings with respect to sentencing. And so the court will order a full pre-sentence investigation report to assist the court in letting the court have as much information as possible, in addition to everything the court has absorbed during the course of the trial. And for the family members, this is an opportunity, in addition to speaking at sentencing, for you to have input in terms of the pre-sentence investigation process, but I suspect the state will guide you well in that process. So, again, I want to thank the attorneys for the professionalism that each side has approached this case. These are not easy cases under the best of circumstances. And at least for the court, it was a pleasure working with attorneys who understood what their jobs were, but more importantly, how to do it professionally. So thank you, everyone, for your time and effort.
Thank you.
Stand at recess.
And rise, please.